Dr. Mark Janghese here with your Science Moment. Today I'm going to talk about paddle shifters. I've done videos before on the advantages of manual transmission over automatics, and often afterwards people say, yeah, but look, there's paddle transmissions, you don't need to have a clutch, and effectively these ones that you can just sort of click it and it changes gear and it does the shifting sort of for you underlying that without a clutch. That's much better because of blah, namely usually it's because you can shift faster and you get better acceleration, you can end up going faster. Which entirely misses the point, as I've discussed, and why we in fact like manual transmission. It's not about going faster, it's in fact the greater control. But what do people mean by that? And that's what I cover in this earlier Science Moment video. But I wanted to mention paddle shifters because a lot of folks say, yeah, but paddle shifters, you do have control, as opposed to the newer automatics, which transition very quickly and optimally. And so the problem is that paddle shifters still limit many facets of what a manual transmission with a clutch gives you. It doesn't give you the full power that a clutch manual transmission in fact gives you. So let's just cover 5 different things, and they're sort of multifaceted. The shift timing isn't yours. If you're using a paddle shifter, there are software delays or lags, and then it smooths over the transitions in ways that you may not want to smooth it over. You can't stall. You can't botch a shift, because at the end of the day, you're not in charge. Some algorithm is, or some dude or lady at the lab that decided how it is that they want you to shift, not how you want to shift given the specific circumstances that you might happen to be in, which is ever changing. 2, there's no true engine braking. When you let off the gas in an automatic or even in a paddle shifter, you're not actually engine braking. When you let off the accelerator or let off the throttle, the drive train is disengaged. You lose that locked-in deceleration that gives manual its functional edge. That's one of the main reasons that you want manual transmission in the first place, is so that you can suddenly, with one throttle, just pull back and you get deceleration. You push down, you get acceleration, all in one foot pedal or all in one throttle without having to shift over to change where your foot is. It's all right there. And when you're in a lower gear for a particular speed, it's a much higher level of sensitivity. The jerk, or the rate of change of acceleration over time, is even faster. In serious conditions, that's what you want. You want that acceleration or locked-in deceleration from engine braking right there. And paddle shifting doesn't allow that in the same way that manual transmission does. Number 3, blunted emotional expressions. You lose the emotional nuance that comes from having the ability to engine brake. When you engine brake, you're not just, in fact, functionally braking, which is what we just talked about, but you're signaling that. You're signaling in the language of the street, not just aggression, which is acceleration, but you're signaling conciliation. Otherwise, you're just saying, I'm really aggressive and I'm not very aggressive, just levels of aggression. A psychopath that can never be conciliatory, never back down. Your range of emotional signals are completely flattened. Number 4, we haven't even talked about the clutch and the fact that the clutch gives you this whole friction zone. You have this fine-grained continuum of modulation that allows you to choose many facets about, how much power you want given how many RPMs you have. You can pull in the clutch and dose that to exactly what you might like, rather than letting the algorithm decide. You could choose to have the RPMs really revving and then pop out the clutch really quickly, drop the clutch and burst out, or make it incredibly smooth. These are fine-grained choices that you can only make with a clutch. Back to emotional expressions, but in terms of the clutch, you can't have the kind of expressive bluffing that you can have in a clutch. One of the most important things about emotional expressions is that I can choose to show emotional expressions, but not in fact be feeling them on the inside. I'm not actually serious, but I might show serious. Or I might not actually be conciliatory or backing down, because on the inside I'm boiling, I'm ready to fight, but I might signal that you can do all of these disconnects between your expressions and what the inside, your engine, is really doing. The clutch lets you signal without committing. It disengages the action from the expression. You can titrate your message without handing the engine your emotions. No, paddle shifters do not give you the kind of two-dimensional, full expressivity and functional movement capabilities that you have with clutch. You just don't have the same kinds of powers. You don't have the same kinds of full capability to be a real emotional creature. And unless you've got a manual transmission. That was your science moment. Get a copy of Motorcycle Mind today.